Hello guys, I'm here again with another business video. It's been a while. I am going to today we're going to speak about types of organizations, of business organizations 1.2. If you guys have any suggestions, please leave a like button and comment any suggestions, any topics you guys would like me to go over. And I'm going to link the slides presentation in the video for you guys. If you guys would like to see the videos and write down calmly the content which is in the presentation, feel free. It will be linked down in the video description. And yeah, let's start. Okay, so 1.2 types of organizations. So these are the key learning outcomes. If you guys would just like to quickly have a quick look. But yeah, we'll already start. So public sector and private sector organizations. So private sector, these are very important definitions that you guys have to know. So if you guys would like to take the note or a picture of the presentation. So the private sector is a business which is owned by individuals and controlled by the individuals. The public sector is essentially a business which is owned and controlled and financed by the government, and it provides their goods and services. And privatization, which is an important thing for you to know as a IB business student, but actually it also appears in economics. So essentially the privatization of a public sector company is essentially when a private sector company, they come and pay the government a fee or an amount of money to be able to explore the public sector company. So they essentially take over the public sector company for some time, and they are able to explore the company's finance, and they're able to essentially take advantage of all of the resources which were maybe not being explored by the public sector. And then it's essentially a win-win, because the private sector, they can explore the company, and the public sector, they can make essentially more money than they were making in previous years with that public sector organization. So in both cases, generally it is a win-win. Okay, so for-profit organizations, these are the main three types for for-profit organizations. So traders, partnerships, and companies or corporations. And essentially, this is very straightforward. This is very basic. One business, all business, private sector, they aim to make a profit. Okay, so sole traders. Sole traders, they are the most simple form of business organization in the whole world, because I'm going to give the example of a bakery. A bakery is a sole trader because generally it is one person that owns the bakery and that actually takes care of all the decisions. Obviously, he has employees that bakes, that they do other things, but the company is owned by one individual, by one person. So that means that they take care advantages and disadvantages. It is a very easy to set up company. The owner, as I said, he has complete control of the business. He keeps all the profits, or she keeps all the profits. Very quick decision making, which is a very important topic for the IB, the decision making aspects. They are flexible and can react quickly to changes, different from other models which we are going to explore today in the lesson. We are able to establish close personal relationships with staff and customers, and this is a very prominent feature of being a sole trader. Disadvantages: unlimited liability, which essentially we're going to speak, I believe, more in detail throughout the presentation, but essentially all of an owner's assets are at risk. So if the company fails in any sort of way, if the company is not making a profit and they have debts with banks, with financial institutions, as the company is linked to the person or to the owner, they can essentially take his house or the person's car as a liability, or as essentially payment for your debts that are overdue. So yeah, and there is limited access to finance. The owner is responsible for all the aspects of management and does not benefit from the expertise of partnerships or owners. And yeah, no benefit of economies of scale, which we are not going to talk about now, which will be discussed in 1.6 in a future video. Okay, so partnership, you guys can read it. It is when more than one individual makes business. So generally, a lot of lawyers have this. They have a partnership, which they have a company and they provide their services, and then they need generally more than one person because you have to have law firm. You have a lot of lawyers, so generally this is a partnership business. And the advantages is that the partners, they bring different expertise. They have shared decision making, and it's still small enough to be flexible to some extent. Not as much as the sole trader, but more than others. There's additional finance invested by each of the partner, and essentially this is very good that the business losses are shared between partners are not only directed to you as a person. And the disadvantages is that it still has a limited liability for all partners, and the profits are all shared between the partners. More people can slow down decision making. So, as I said in the previous slide, this is a disadvantage of other models which are not sole traders, and there can be conflicts between partners which would not be good for any aspect of the business. So, companies and corporations. There are three important differences between companies and sole traders and partnerships, which are the limited liability, legal personality, and the continuity. So the limited liability is, as I said, the potential loss that the shareholder they have. If the company fails, the amount invested is not. If the amount invested is not returned, you will not necessarily be attacked as an individual because your company will become a legal personality. So essentially, the company is legally recognized as having an identity separate from its owners. So they cannot legally take away your house, and your things cannot be taken away from you. They can only attack the company. And continuity in a company, the death of an owner or director does not end the company, different from sole traders and partners. If the partner or the sole trader or some family relatives, they do not want to continue the business will fail. And yeah. And now we have some subtopic of companies and corporations, which are private limited companies, which are known as LTD, and public limited companies, which are known as PLCs. So these are some examples of private limited companies. A private limited company is essentially a business that has shareholders they are invited shares in the business by existing owners. So this is very important. If I have a private limited company, I have to invite another member or you guys to be part of my private limited company. You cannot enter by it if not invited by any other shareholder or member. So they're shares of a private company. They're not traded on the stock market, so this is very important. And the board of directors, they have to approve any share trades that can maintain overall control. So yeah, this is very important. So as the shareholders of a company, they have to approve any sort of transaction between shares from one another. So you cannot simply one day wake up and you discover that your partner just bought the shares of two people and now he's the majority shareholder of the limited company. No, that cannot happen. And yeah, and this can make it difficult to sell shares because everybody needs to be in agreement. And yeah, they usually have abbreviated LTD. So these are some private limited companies, the most famous ones. The shareholder and share. For you guys that don't know, here is the definition. And yeah. Okay, so the strengths and weaknesses of the private limited company. I think you guys can this quickly. So the shareholder, they have limited liability, as I said in other slides. They have access to additional finance through shareholders, and as a business grows, it gains economies of scale, which are, as I said, we're going to talk about in future presentations. We have wider access to experiences through its shareholders. And the weaknesses, it is a as more shareholders join the business, the control it ends up reducing your control. So there are a lot of people, and there can possibly be more conflict. The capital cannot be raised by sharing stocks to the general public, so that is a negative point about private limited companies, and it's less secrecy over financial affairs than sole traders and partnerships. Okay, so public limited companies, these are generally the most famous companies. So Microsoft, Apple, Samsung. Okay, so PLCs, they are a private sector business. They are often, as I said, larger businesses. They are very large enterprises and companies, businesses, whatever you want to call them, and they sell their shares on the stock market. Generally, it's not a very big amount which is sold in the stock market to a private company, and essentially the stock market, anyone is able to purchase the shares of the company, and it's a share price. It is quoted on the National Stock Exchange, and if you want and if you have the money, you could buy any of these company stocks, and you would be a shareholder of a part of the company, but it's generally very, very low. Generally have like 0.00000 something percent if you buy one share. So yeah, it's very small. You have to make a very significant purchase to own some part at least. Okay, so these are the strengths and weaknesses. I'm not gonna go over every single one of them. You guys can take notes. I'm not gonna read all of them, but essentially, it's almost opposite, as you guys can read and see, to the other one. And yeah. Okay, so this is a video. The videos that I said that you got that there would be in the presentation, but we will not be. And this is a quick task. If you guys would like to, if you would like to pause the video and try to complete it, it would be very good. And create a list of business names and the types of business ownerships you think they are. And you guys can use Google to, or any sort of form of web browsing to confirm if they are the ones that you said. Okay, so now for-profit social enterprise. So the companies we were talking about previously, they all aimed to profit except the public sector, but this is a different. This will be explained in a different video. So they all aim to make a profit. So the for-profit social enterprise is a little bit different because a social enterprise, they have different objectives from an entrepreneur who is only profit motivated. Generally, this is not true about the entrepreneurs. They're only profit motivated, but for IB's sake, we say that entrepreneurs are profit motivated or profit oriented. It is a business that mainly they focus on social objectives. So yeah, these are economic to make profit or surplus to reinvest back into the company and provide some returns to the owners. Social to provide jobs or support for local, often disadvantaged communities, and environmental to protect the environment and manage the business in the environment in a sustainable way. Okay, so the aims of the enterprise is also referred to the triple bottom line. So this Venn diagram is very useful when talking or when analyzing for-profit social enterprises because they can include a lot of people, but generally most of them, they find themselves here in the sustainable area, and they can include cooperatives, microfinance providers, public-private partnerships or PPP. So yeah, we're gonna talk more in depth about these. So this is another video explaining. I'm not gonna view it because of copyright reasons, but I really recommend you guys see the whole presentation and see the videos because it really will add on to the knowledge we are building. A cooperative is an organization joined by a group of people who democratically run the organization to meet the needs and aspirations of its members. So what does it mean? It's essentially, as it says, essentially a little democracy in form of a business. which is not generally the case, but in the case of cooperatives, it is. And it's each member has an equal vote, as I said. So essentially, it's a democracy inside of a business, and its strength is that the democratic decision it motivates the employees because they see that they have the same voting rights as the managers, and this keeps them motivated to work to go into their goal. And income is generated by businesses that it goes to the members and motivates them. So yeah, and income can be reinvested into their enterprise with the guidance from the members. So it's essentially a social cycle which will never end. So this is very nice. And the weaknesses is one member, one vote equals a very slow decision making, which is very important generally when there's a change, when there's change in circumstances. So decision making is could cost you a lot, and managers they do not have the same control the way they want, so everybody feels equal. But for you to manage somebody, you generally have to feel or be in a level which is above for you to be able to give orders, and being everybody is the same, that really doesn't help. Okay, so Mac members, they try to block sale to US firm. Okay, so this is an example of a Mac members. They oppose the sale, and you guys can see the video afterwards. We're not gonna see it right now. So what is a cooperative simplified? Because I know it is very confusing from the beginning. So a cooperative is a different way of doing business. It is an organization that is owned by the people who use it. Okay, I don't know if that made sense, but I'm gonna try for it to make sense. So it is owned by the people who use it. So if you end up getting into an organization, or generally they're like people who need, and then they get into people in need to get into these organizations, and they are generally getting salaries and they're getting paid to help other people. So it's a cycle of helping each other. And examples of cooperatives, they can include credit unions, which they are a type of cooperative banking institution that provides banking and lending services to its members. Energy cooperatives such as the electrical utility companies, if you cannot pay and if you have been formed in rural areas. Retail cooperatives, which involves a small retailer banding together to be more competitive with larger retails by sharing advertising costs and buying as a group for high volume discounts. Housing cooperatives, which own real estate such as condo projects and apartment building, and agricultural cooperatives, which are a very common. Some well-known agricultural cooperatives in the U.S. include the Ocean Spray, and yeah, these are their companies. So you can read this article from Harvard Business to extend your learning. We're not going to read it right now because we do not have the time to be reading, but I really recommend you guys to really read and to expand your knowledge, because if you guys generally no TOK, no, we're not doing TOK in this lesson. You guys can do it in your school. We're not doing here, but generally, guys, if you guys really want a 7 in IB business, you guys should really be reading and wanting to extend your knowledge and everything beyond the classroom. And I guarantee to you guys that if you want to extend and do the extra step, you're always going to be ahead, because you in your free time you will always be like studying and seeing stuff that will be applied generally in classroom. So yeah, it's my recommendation if you guys enjoy it. Okay, so microfinance providers. So microfinance, they provide financial services to poor or low-income customers. They do not have access to normal banking services because of low credits or because of other circumstances. So there's a video which explains more in detail, but we're not, as I said, watching it. Microfinance providers, they offer loans, overdrafts, and financial advice to Nobel Prize winner Dr. Muhammad Yunus. He started the microfinance by making loans to poor women in the village of Jabra, Bangladesh, and went on to start the microfinance Gratman Bank in 1983. So that's very interesting. But yeah, This is important. Okay, so the public-private partnership, the PPP. Okay, so the public-private partnership, they are where a public sector organization has a contract with a private sector business to support the provisions of a public service. So what does this? What does these load of words actually mean? So there are three types of PPP agreements. Generally the government funded one, which essentially means that a company is provides service, but they provide the service being government funded, so the government pays for all the company services. So it's not directly free, right? The government is paying by some way, by actually paying the cost, or by doing some by making a company pay less taxes if they do these sort of things. And the private sector funded is where private sector they provide the funds. So there's to the public sector, but this is generally not very common. The most common is government funded. And there's also the government directed, but with private sector finance and management, where the government facilitates private businesses to set up and run in the public sector. So, yeah. Oop. Okay, so these are the strengths and weaknesses of a PPPs. So many schools, roads, prisons have been financed by PPP schemes, and these would not be possible without a private investment. So sometimes when you guys you're in a road and you have to pay I don't know, I forgot how it is called in English, but a fee to enter into some roads. You have to pay a fee, and this is a way which the private investment and private sector essentially they make money for them to invest into other roads and other things. So this you're paying to use the road, but you're actually paying for other roads to be constructed. Generally, it's not a very big fee, but yeah. In the private sector, they aim to make profit, therefore they operate services, and the costs are lower for the public, so it's a win-win again. By using a private sector's finance, the government can claim taxes will be less. The weaknesses are the private sector is profit oriented, so as I said, so this could impact the job security associated with government jobs. Criticized as earning private sector large profits from rent charges, which come out of the taxpayers' pockets, and the private sector may lack experience needed to operate in such a large scale and in public sector projects. So yeah, this could be a very big weakness. But generally, if private company they have the expertise, this can be executed in a good way. It is generally a win-win. But there are some unexperienced companies, so there can be some form of some form of disagreement, or even some form of, well, I forgot the word, but disagreement, I think we'll have to go. So the public-private partnership can benefit from the dynamic finance and efficiency of the private sector, along with benefits of public sector funding and support. So examples of such projects are here. So the New York Central Park, Hong Kong Disneyland, Singapore Sports Hub, 25-year partnership, and yeah. So non-profit social enterprises, not all organizations in the world aim to make profit. So non-profits, as you guys know, NGOs, charities, they aim to make a social impact, not a profit-oriented impact. And non-government organizations, they are legally constituted, not-for-profit organizations that support issues in the public good. So they do not have government involvement at all in their operations and management, although they can often be supported by governments and NGOs. Their mission is focused on a social, as I said, or humanitarian cause. And yeah. Generally, they favor the vulnerable members of society or animals, or yeah. Okay, so the strengths of NGOs and the weaknesses. The strengths is that the provision of support to people who cannot afford it. So yeah, that's very nice. Free from political influence by government. So that is very good because the government can influence you to do not necessarily the right thing. Trust is image because of the non-profit for profit nature of the organization. And the weaknesses is the access to the funding because they rely on charity essentially, so the money that donors give. They can conflict with the government, and they often work in very difficult conditions that make day-to-day operations very challenging. Charities. Okay, so a charity is a not-for-profit organization as well, and it is set up to provide money and support to people in need. So charities they tend to focus on a particular area of need, and it is often based on the philanthropic objective of the person or people who funded the charity. Founded, sorry. So the purpose of the charity they can be to fund and support areas such as education, arts, healthcare. I think everybody knows a charity or some form of charity, such as the Red Cross. I don't know. There are a lot of charities doing a lot of really good stuff in the world. And yeah. So here's the strengths and the weaknesses. I wouldn't say necessarily weaknesses, but disadvantages. In the case of charities and NGOs, provide funds and support for those in need. Philanthropical nature gives them a positive image. Covers areas of support that governments have not provided for. The disadvantages of the charities are difficulty in attracting enough funds to provide effective support for those in need. The low wages, they mean they struggle to attract the best employees. So generally, the people who are there are not money oriented. They are really there just to make others happy, to give their provide their services because they do not have the financial aspect to pay the best employees, and the legal status they often involve regulations that limit their activities, such as attracting investment finance. Okay, so identify the type of ownership that best matches the following statements. So this is a quick activity for you guys to do. In not necessarily do it in your house, and yeah. What is the most appropriate form of ownership for a business? So it depends really on the objective of the firm. It really depends on every single one of these. But if you guys took notes and if you guys remember, it is quite simple, or it is very easy for you to see at least a pathway of where a company should be. So, for example, if you want to open a bakery, you're not going to open it's not going to be an NGO because you're for profit oriented. So you want to bake bread and sell bread to make money. So then you have to decide if you're going to have a partnership, if you're going to be a sole trader. You already know you're going to be in the private sector because you're going to own. So if you guys make these links, it is easier to define and to find which is the appropriate form of ownership for a business. So it really depends on the objective, the degree of control, transparent about its financial position, and yeah, it depends on every single one of these. Yeah, this is an exam practice question. So essentially, just a quick review about a past paper question. If you guys would like to quickly do it at home, I really advise you to do it. And yeah, these are other activities which you guys can do. And yeah, guys, essentially, it is it. You guys can do this activity as well, but I'm going to link the slides in the presentation into the description. And yeah, that's essentially it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I tried to make the shortest presentation possible. If you guys have any other suggestions, or if you guys have any other topics you guys would like to explore, please leave a comment, a like. If you guys could please subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much, and see you the next time.